Fashamaniacs.
Geo Gearheads.
Welcome back to the Geo Gearheads. I'm Daryl W4, back again with Chris of the Northwest.
Hello, Daryl, and how are you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty well. Another long week at work and another very tiring week, but happy to be back for episode 455. And it's definitely been one of those weeks where it's like, wait a minute, hasn't it been like 2 or 3 weeks since we did the last show?
Well, I tell you, you may hear my throat, my voice is a little raspy. The smoke that I'm dealing with here in the Pacific Northwest from the fires is really starting to get at me. So I may mute a lot because it's causing me to cough and stinging my eyes. So don't expect me to read anything because I won't be able to see well. Oh, well, that's typically the case.
I was just going to say, we don't read all that well anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, no, that's not good. That's been quite the ordeal for you guys. I know that, I've got a bunch of my team that works out in San Francisco, and every so often they'll send me the pictures. And last week it just looked like they were living on Mars or something.
Yeah. It's kind of got that rosy, orangey glow.
With the nice haze.
Yeah. And all that smoke is holding down the fog that we normally get. So fog's lasting well into the afternoon. Just this last weekend, I looked out and, I don't know, 9:30 in the morning, I could barely see the house across the street from me. So
Rick Ghost just says he thought the border was closed between Canada and the U.S. They should be turning the smoke back.
Oh, well, Border Patrol doesn't always do their job. No, I shouldn't say that. They are fantastic people.
Well, and that's one of the kind of frustrating things about the current situation is that you can't make the trips across the border.
Uh-huh.
Apparently, we can go back and forth to Mexico from the U.S., though.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
A lot of people have been taking trips down there recently, especially, a few of the people from the Chicago or from the San Francisco office have done that. So that's a good thing. And it's especially good because I got to send one of my guys down there to help with some networking.
That's not the closest border to me, but no. If it's the one that's open, I don't have a cache in Mexico. So maybe I need to plan a weekend trip.
Well, and I was so anxious to get out for some Canadian geocaching. And of course, all of this happened. And, it's been almost, 7-8 months now that we haven't been able to travel.
Yeah.
Boo.
And, in my
coaster says you can go to Alaska from the lower 48. Just don't stop in Canada.
So this is an ongoing joke with my Canadian friends is they are finding Americans crossing the border. They cross the border and you say, I'm going to Alaska. Okay, we allow that. But, then they find them in parks and, staying in hotels and that, for more than a couple of days, more than you should stay if you're actually driving to Alaska and kicking them out of the country. So that's kind of the joke is, oh, we can go to Canada. We just have to say, oh, I'm on my way to Alaska.
Interesting.
So, I joke about the Border Patrol, but I wouldn't get them angry. You wouldn't like them when they're angry.
No.
So,
and you hear the stories about it. I've actually talked with some of the people who's have this happen to them, and it's almost entirely coming back to the U.S. It's like, don't piss off the guys at the Border Patrol because they'll pull you over. And one of the people I talked with, they actually ripped the seats out of the car looking for contraband. And, oh, no, sorry. Okay, you didn't have any. Here you go. Here's all parts of your car. You can put it back together and be on your way.
Yeah. Daryl, if you need something to watch, Netflix has a series called Border Security.
I've seen that one.
And it's really quite interesting. They do a lot around your area from Detroit. Not so much as I would think here in Washington, but there's a couple. But it's really interesting to, it's kind of like cops, people doing stupid things, and you're thinking, yeah, you're not going to get away with that. So, Wet Coaster says there are fines, monetary fines, as well as getting returned to the border if you're caught not actually going to Alaska.
Yeah, which I'm sure there should be.
Oh man, yes. That's just not cool, guys.
No, well, and it seems like it would be pretty easy to spot people like that.
Well, they've got, in my case, they would have Washington State plates. That's going to stick out.
Yeah, I mean, you're driving your car, or you're ditching your car and renting another car or something. But even that should be pretty easy. It's like no matter what, I figure it's going to be pretty easy to track. So not necessarily the best idea.
No. And it's not that the Canadians don't want us to come across the border and spend our money, but at this time we have to obey the laws that are before us. So
yeah, well, and from what I understand, Canada is in much better shape health-wise than the U.S. is, or Mexico.
BC just went back a phase because
did they?
Yeah, because people got a little excited.
Well, and because of, and this is turning into COVID talk, but people have been getting a little bit more loose, largely because people are going back to school.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we've noticed is, at least in this area, traffic has returned to pretty much pre-COVID levels, because now that the kids are back at school, the parents are going back to the office.
Mm-hmm. And welcome to Geocaching COVID Talk with your host, Daryl W4 and Chris of the Northwest. Tonight, we're going to be talking about traffic and crossing international borders.
Wow.
What do you think, Daryl? Should we start a new podcast?
I don't think so.
Okay. I was trying to do my best PBS impression.
Yeah, this sounded more like a night talk kind of thing. But, regardless, it's kind of the big thing, it's the topic that no one can escape from.
Exactly. We're still not allowed to have any events here in Washington State. Idaho can have some. I think if limited numbers in Oregon. What about you, Daryl? Are you allowed to have any?
We've been having events for quite a while, even when Ohio couldn't have events this summer. We were allowing events, but it's hard to do because you're not allowed to do more than 10 people indoors, and almost nothing is open. None of the dining rooms are really open. Yeah, so I should say that there's a lot of the sit down places that are reopening, but again, it's physical distancing. You can't really do that.
Right.
So indoors is definitely out. People are holding all outdoor events, and that's going to end before too much longer, because we're going to have the cold winter weather starting to set in.
Oh yeah. Who wants to be outside then?
Yeah. Well, not for a big meet and greet kind of event.
Right.
And but the interesting thing is, I believe it was the 24th or 25th. There's going to be a community day event at one of the bigger wetlands in the area.
Mm-hmm.
So
still going on at this point?
Oh no! Well, they explicitly created the community day event there at that time, because that's normally when they would try to do some big geocaching event otherwise.
Okay.
But they just haven't had the time, and it's one of the few places where you can actually have a community day event.
Nice. So GSM times 2 says Southern California can have CETO events, but not events.
That's interesting.
As well as Wet Coaster says in Ontario, they have CETOs right now, but no others. Huh. Now, Daryl, do you have CETOs in the winter when you have, large amounts?
We have done CETOs in the winter, but it's rare, in part because you don't know what you're going to actually be able to pick up.
Mm-hmm. I'm just curious. Okay. That's snow in, trash out.
Interesting.
That would be CETO, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would truly be CETO.
Okay. I'm sorry. Daryl?
No, you're not. I don't believe you.
One more thing. We're only
Okay.
10 minutes in. One more thing. I just realized your shirt isn't an oil well. It's the San Francisco Bay Bridge.
Correct.
Yeah. I couldn't
Actually, I'm not 100% sure it's actually the Golden Gate. 'Cause I think that's a Golden Gate. No, it's not.
I don't know.
I don't think that's the right cross members for it.
GSM times 2 wouldn't know. We would need Limex to know. I didn't see the guy wires when I first looked at your shirt. So
anyway, we're not talking about any of that tonight. What we're supposed to be talking about is pocket queries.
Pocket queries.
Among other things, we haven't talked about pocket queries in like 3 years or something like that. It was back on GeoGearheads 275 that we last did a show on pocket queries. So we're kind of overdue for it, and especially with all of the discussion lately about attributes and whatnot, it seemed like it was a good time to talk about pocket queries once again. Now, this was the big reason that most people became premium members.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's more, but it's still one of the best reasons to be a premium member. Essentially, pocket queries are just searches. But at the end, you can get a GPX file out of it. Pretty good summary?
I would say that's right. And it's funny because about 3 years ago, lists came out, didn't they? And
well, lists have been out for a little, for bookmark lists have been out for a long time, and they kind of renamed them in the expansion, I think, to create the lists that we know today. But lists are similar and different to pocket queries.
Yeah, and I think that's why pocket queries kind of slowed down, let me put it that way.
Well, and fewer people are using GPSRs.
Mm-hmm.
And because you don't use the GPSR, it's not the draw that it once was. Our research department has come through. Oops. The Golden Gate Bridge has square cross members. So yeah, that is not the Golden Gate on my shirt.
Oh, it's the Bay Bridge.
Dum dum dum. All right, I don't even know which bridge I'm wearing.
Let's see.
But
does it matter?
No, it's just a cool bridge. I like bridges. Let's take a look at the actual pocket query page, and we'll kind of walk through it here, which can be found if you are a premium member from the premium tools on the left side of the your profile page.
Daryl, thanks for pointing that out. I forgot that is a premium member function.
Yeah, so you do need to be a premium member, which most of our audience, I believe, is probably premium. But just a reminder, you will lose this when your premium membership runs out for whatever reason.
If you have an iPhone, you can just set it within the app to auto renew. To subscribe, is it a subscription? I believe it is.
I thought they got rid of that now.
No, a friend of mine had a bunch of subscriptions that he didn't know how he got on there, and I go, I've never seen that before. I got to go look on mine, and the only one was geocaching. I'm like, I'm okay with that. I keep thinking, I should pay directly to geocaching instead of through Apple getting 30% of it or something. So
Apple would get 30%, but that was also one of the ways that you used to use to get a little bit of a discount, because you can get the 10 or 15% off on the iTunes store cards, which are now just Apple cards. But you could get the discount on those and save the cash.
Mm-hmm.
But they closed that loophole a while ago. So I'm not sure what the status is. You might have signed up for that before they pulled the feature out.
Oh, interesting. Anyway,
yeah.
Daryl, we're talking about everything except pocket queries.
Yes, we're very good about doing that.
Well, We need somebody to keep us on task and crack that whip. That was my own sound effect, by the way.
Before we actually get too far into pocket queries, I do want to point out one thing that gets commonly overlooked. Toward the bottom of the list is the My Finds pocket query. And this is really handy to keep. You have to just click, it doesn't schedule it for you, but you can click on the Add to Queue button. And once every 3 days, you can click that button to get every one of your finds downloaded in a GPX file.
Yes, which is very helpful if you're a GSAC user. Very much,
not just for GSAC users. I also had been doing that for years with, why can I not remember? Geosphere. So if you have your pocket query loaded in a separate database or whatever, and you can do the same thing with Cachely too. Load that in, and if you're going hunting for caches, anything that's currently active cache, you have all of those caches you've already found in there as reference points when you're trying to look for a new spot to hide a cache.
Gotcha.
So can be very handy for that, and it's also kind of handy for hey. Go ahead.
That could be a little misleading as well, because it will have all your finds, whether that cache is still active or not.
It does, but you can, in most of the apps, turn off anything that isn't active.
Gotcha.
So you can use it, not only for finding caches, but trying to figure out where that final is for that stubborn cache that you can't find that one stage. And you also have the ability to go back and take a look then and see those caches that otherwise you can't really get to see why they might have been archived. So if you're looking to place a cache somewhere, hey, there was a cache, right here where I was looking to place one. Why was this archived? And you'll discover it was muggled 12 times or something.
Now, Starcacher says the My Finds is also needed for your geocaching profile stats refresh. Really good thinking on that. I didn't consider that.
Interesting. I'm not sure exactly what he's talking about.
So on your geocaching stats, if you're using,
is that the GSAC one?
I think I don't know if it's GSAC or Project GC.
Well, Project GC I thought did it automatically.
I think it pulls it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
So this must be GSAC.
Yeah.
Starcacher, you can tell us in the chat if we're going down the right path here. But it will pull up all that information and allow you to process your my geocaching profile stats, which is outside of what geocaching.com uses.
GSM times 2 says, but GSAC's get caches is much better than pocket queries.
Probably.
And there are, things like Cachely have some good search tools now that pull right from the API. So you don't necessarily need pocket queries.
Yeah. I think API and programming have kind of shown us the end of pocket queries, in my opinion.
Well, I have the feeling pocket queries are going to be retired at some point, but they need to be able to start saving the searches, because pocket queries save like an index of the caches as well as generating the GPX file. So if you create a pocket query, you can download that into your API app, but it's downloading the current data from the index. It's not downloading the actual cache data that's in the GPX file. It's downloading current data. So it's a nice thing to have. But when you scroll down on this page, you get your active pocket queries, which are all of the pocket queries that you've created. And as I'm going through this list, those keen viewers might notice there's a couple of different icons in here. So you have the turn sign. That's for your caches along a route. You have the lightning bolt, which is your standard pocket query. And you have your bookmark pocket query. So if you have a list, you can use the pocket query function to generate the GPX file, which that I'm sure is going to go away at some point.
Yeah, but that's really nice.
Isn't it? It is so nice to have. And you can actually do the lists from other API services and then use the pocket queries to pull those for like your GPS.
Yeah. Daryl, I just want to close the loop on that my geocaching profile.
Yes.
Starcacher and Just Finding Our Way said neither. It's actually a web-based stats program that you feed your MyFinds file into.
Oh, I think I remember that one.
Geocaching profile. It's a website.
Yeah, I forgot that one existed, but I do remember that was there.
So there you go. That makes a lot of sense since it's outside of those domains, I want to say, and that's a computer term. And
yeah, it's an API, or it's not an API partner. It's using the live cache data, or not the live cache data. Sorry, the cached cache data.
Cache data. Now, Daryl, you mentioned, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, at the start of Wonders of the World, that you thought about making lists or pocket queries of each of the wonders in around you, and then being able to put that, say, into Cachely that can't read from the API what wonder is in the cache.
Right.
And being able to find them that way. I thought that was genius. And if you do through a list and then into a pocket query, you can pull that into any geocaching app for the most part.
Absolutely. And that's one of the big things with the pocket queries is you can grab the data for just about anything. It will work in the geocaching app. It works in all the API apps. And for almost every geocaching that isn't one of those, you do have GPX files. So you can grab those and transfer them very easily, put it in Cache Torno, all that kind of stuff. You have just a wealth of options once it's in a pocket query. And a lot of my times I don't actually run the pocket query. I'll create the pocket query, but I never actually run it because I'll use it as essentially just a saved search tool that's easier, in my opinion, to manipulate than the advanced search tool is. Now, advanced search does have some features that you don't have with pocket queries and vice versa. We just saw the introduction of the search for attributes in the advanced search feature. But let's take a look at creating a new pocket query. So when you get the new pocket query page, assuming you're just clicking on that new pocket query button, not creating it from a bookmark list or caches along a route, which goes in a little different path. But you'll have to give it your name. So we'll call this, Geo Gearheads. Get it started. You can have, Monday through Saturday, Sunday, whatever, check boxes for what days you want it to run. And then you can choose uncheck the day of the week after the pocket query runs. So if you check like every day, the first of those days, Monday through Sunday, that runs, it's going to uncheck that every time it runs. So if you do the uncheck the day of the week for 7 days, it's going to run for 7 days and then stop unless you turn those check boxes back on.
And then run no more.
Right. And then it just sits there. It's not going to disappear. That's still going to be there. And then you have to go back and delete it manually. You also have the run this query every week on the days checked. So if you want something that's going to be every Friday so that you have your caches for the weekend, you check off the Friday, click the run this query every week. And then every Friday, it's going to be in your inbox.
Which has to be by far the most popular option.
Yeah. I would assume that's the most popular. But I'm not so sure that it is anymore because I think a lot of people are just keeping the saved searches and running it as needed. It used to be this is a feature everyone did.
Mhm.
And you'd find those people who, like, every Monday they ran these 3, every Tuesday they ran these 3, every Wednesday, so that they get the whole area refreshed on a regular basis. Again, the API has kind of killed that kind of usage. The last one we've got as our option is the run this query once and then delete it. So this is really awesome. If you're going to a geocaching event or something and you want to grab that file to drop in the GPS, you can, and we'll talk about it later, but give it that GC code. Set up your criteria, run once, and then it's gone. You don't have to mess with it anymore. Does make it very, very nice and easy. Chris, you want to take over for a little while?
I would love nothing more, Daryl. Why, thank
Really?
you.
Nothing more? Even if I offered you $100,000, you'd still prefer to take over.
Daryl, I couldn't accept $100,000. I mean, that hardly touches the salary you pay me to do this show on a weekly basis. So,
which is nothing.
Oh, can I reconsider my answer now?
Yes, you may.
Okay. Let's go on to the number of caches you can do at a time. That's the next one. Is it defaults to 500, but you can do 1,000, and that's still the limit. Is 1,000 caches per pocket query, and that was updated. I don't know how many years ago. Let's say 5, where they updated it. Maybe it's longer.
I think it was longer than that because I want to say it was shortly after the 10-year.
When the GPSRs started having more and more memory to hold caches, and 500 just didn't cut it anymore. They upped it to 1,000.
Yeah, when you started being able to do 10,000 caches in a GPS.
Yeah. So the next section is the selected types, and it's a type of geocache such as traditional, multi, and it includes them all, but just the type. Well, it includes all the active type, right? Grandfathered, virtuals, letter, or mystery. No, I'm sorry. Webcam. That's what I was going for.
Yeah, webcams are included. The GPS adventure exhibit was included. Even when you couldn't have any GPS adventure exhibits in the US, it was still there.
It was still there, yeah. So those are the ones that are active that you could possibly find. I find it interesting that they have an asterisk after mystery cache that includes geocaching HQ.
Well, and part of that is the geocaching HQ shouldn't really be under a mystery cache, should it?
I think it should be a traditional.
I think so too, but I'm wondering if they include it under mystery because it is limited hours. And you have to make special arrangements.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can kind of get that, but I also like the event cache asterisk.
Oh, we're going to get to that.
Okay.
But there is a attribute for limited time, the time it's open, for traditional kit for any type of cache. So I don't think that's the reason why it's a mystery. I think it just was set apart. It's a different icon. Okay, the event cache includes geocaching HQ block party, geocaching HQ celebration, Giga event cache, community celebration event, cache in trash out event, and mega event cache. So if you're looking for just gigas, you can't sort them purely from a pocket query.
Right. But you'll notice all these different types in here, a lot of which have been archived. And I don't know that that's necessarily an idea that's so smart because you can't actually pull the geocaching HQ block party anymore.
Right.
Yeah, once it's archived, you can't pull the data from a pocket query. If it's disabled, it will pull it, but not if it's archived.
Okay, so that goes through the different types of caches. And then we jump to containers. And of course, you can select them all, or you can choose your small, large, micro, regular, unknown, other, or virtual. Now, the virtual gets me. How can you have a virtual container?
I don't think that's a virtual container. I think it's for virtuals.
But
because virtuals don't have a container type.
Are selected above to selected types.
Right, but that's so that you can filter out, container size if you want to. So you could do anything, any type of cache that has a large container, which would exclude virtuals because virtuals have no container.
Right.
And events because events don't have containers.
So, well, now I have to wonder here, Daryl, if you select only virtual containers, does that include events, virtual caches, earth caches, perhaps where I goes, webcams?
Let's see.
Would it take everything there that there isn't a physical container for? It's one of those things that I just looked at. I know I've seen it 1,000 times. I just looked at it and was like, why does that say virtual? Okay. While you're looking at that, oh, he's already got it. Those are all virtuals.
Oh, but it doesn't look like the events.
Virtual caches and nothing else.
Yeah, so it's only virtuals.
Which, okay. I'm sure there's a reason for it.
See, and I was thinking that the actual events were listed that way too. Interesting.
Okay.
We learned something new.
The next section after containers. So we've looked at when you want to run it, how many you want, what type of caches, what type of containers, and then comes your logic statements, right?
Yeah, this is the one that really, to me, makes it the most powerful way to search.
So you get into these, I call them logic. I don't want to say attributes because that would confuse things at this point. So you want to find all those and the ones I haven't found, the ones I have found, the ones I don't own or own. So these are kind of yes, no type of questions. Are available to all users, are available to members only. Are not on my ignored list, are on my watch list. Found in the last 7 days, have not been found. Has travel bugs, updated in the last 7 days, is disabled or is enabled. So I usually check that I haven't found, that I don't own, and is enabled.
That's about what I do. Now, if I am going caching with some of my non-premium member friends, I'll usually check off that are available to all members.
Mm.
And this is especially good if you're going to be doing something like a power trail or a tour, because then you create that GPX file that all of you can work from.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're doing that, it is very handy to do the premium only stuff. Now you also have as the next option, the difficulty is and the terrain is. So you can say greater than or equal to, or less than, and then that value. So you can say only show me caches less than or equal to a 3. So if you're looking for those quick parking grabs, you can do that. Now, if you're looking to fill, some kind of fizzy grid or whatever, you can go and actually hit both of these and say equal to, so that you have like the more difficult 4.5, for instance. So it's great when you're going on a trip to say, hey, especially for like caches along a route, which has a different interface. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we're going to get to that on this show, but yeah, the caches along route also have this where you can say, show me everything that's going to be pretty easy. I want something 2, maybe 2.5 or less. And that's a great way to find those caches are going to be the quick parking grabs.
Right. And I've used this exactly set caches along a route where, I'm driving. I don't want a long hike. I don't want difficult terrain where I'm going to get muddy and then get back in the car. I just want something quick and easy.
Well, when you and I went to Geo Woodstock in St. Louis, we did exactly this with the pocket query that we created. I think we did a half mile off the route, has to be a 2.5 or less, so that we had that quick, easy off and on again. And it took us to many rest areas, which is exactly what we were looking for. Get those caches along the route, take a quick break from the driving, and be right back on the road so that you don't get there way too late. Which I seem to remember we did get there too late for one of the events we wanted.
Well, I think the flash mob was in progress.
You might be right.
And we resume your flash event in progress.
So the next thing on the agenda is the within. So generally I do none selected here, but you could say it has to be within the US. So for those of us close to the Canadian border, this can be very handy because you can say it has to be in the US, which I can't find right now for some reason. Isn't that interesting? Anyways, you can say it's, has to be within the US, except I don't know that the US is actually in there.
It isn't.
Which doesn't surprise me because we do have the states. So
yeah, so that's really nice if you want, you're looking for caches in a state and you're near a border.
Yep.
Like, don't give me anything over. I'm looking for just Washington. I don't want Idaho.
Yeah, I don't want to see when I go on my Detroit trip all the caches that I'm missing in Windsor, which I think are many, many more than you get in Detroit. But yeah, we're not going to get into that right now. So you can limit your fines to that. I generally do none selected though, because I just want everything around a center point.
So Daryl, you let's say you're on the East Coast and there's a lot of small states right there.
Yep.
You can control click and select multiple states at a time.
Yes, you can.
So if you want, New Hampshire and Connecticut, you can select both of those, but keep me out of Delaware.
Right. Well, and I was thinking likewise, if I'm caching near the Ohio and Michigan border at some point, I could say Michigan, Ohio, but don't give me Indiana.
Oh, I don't blame you at all for that one.
I don't want to go to Indiana. Because maybe I have a police scanner, which you're not allowed to have in Indiana.
Oh, or the warrant.
Well, yes, but I don't have one of those yet. Or you could be like Scott Burks, who gets ousted from a state and you're not allowed to return.
Exactly.
So then the next thing that is very much related is the from origin. So this is the center point. If you pick none selected, you pretty much have to have one of those other ones going, because it is going to have way too many caches. But the none selected doesn't have a center point. And if I remember correctly, and I couldn't really find anything on this recently, it's just going to go in the creation order of the cache. It's just oldest creation to newest, not the published date, but when the record was created. So it will stop at 500. So you'll get like the oldest 500 in the state, not the central 500.
Right.
You also have the ability to do my home location, which is handy if you have that set. If you don't have that set, it doesn't do you any good. But you can just always do the, hey, what are the 1,000 closest caches around my house that I haven't done? And then, as I mentioned earlier, you have the GC codes. So in here, you go punch in that event code, and the center point of that event is going to be the center point of your cache. You can also do a postal code if you want to look up for, that office that you're going to go visit. Or if you happen to have the coordinates, you can pick the different coordinate systems, or I shouldn't say systems. Well, yeah, systems, because it's not datums. But you can change your system and easily punch in like your decimal degrees if that's how you like to work. And of course, you need a radius. So you can limit to, let's say, 10 miles, though the default is 100. You can limit how far you want to go. So if you're doing that caches around your house thing and don't want to drive more than 10 miles away, set it for 10 miles, set it for your home location, and you're done.
Mm-hmm. And it is only circular in pocket queries. You only get circular selections.
Right.
Of course it'll cut off by state, but you're getting a radius.
Then we move on to the placed during feature, which, as we kind of talked about earlier with the no origin, you can do some filtering essentially by the place during. So you can say none selected, which is typically what you want to do for the, hey, I need to do my all caches available. But you can also say, show me caches just placed like this week, this month, or this year. You can also search by date. So a number of the geocachers before the API in GSAC were using this set of functions to build pocket queries that would go and pull all of the caches for their state. So you'd set it up for 2 years or 3 years or whatever you could get in a single pocket query in that state, and then do another one for the next set. So you'd stack them based on the date.
Oh, I did that, Daryl. Because I wanted all the geocaches in the state. And so I started separating them by age and then running, and if it came out over 1,000, I, work that date down until it came out just under 1,000. That way I knew I got everything.
Yeah, exactly. And the nice thing about doing it that way is you knew you weren't likely to get more than a few caches, because if the caches were archived and unarchived, because that does happen occasionally, they'll show up in that list. So you always wanted some extra room just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Happy Hodag says this is also good if you're doing the Jasmer.
Yes, it is.
Referring to the dates. Yeah, very, very nice. And also a reminder that the max distance is 500 miles, which I don't believe we mentioned. So
we did
thank you for that reminder. All right, you want to start with attributes?
Well, these are real attributes, so I can talk about those. But you have 2 sections here, and I'm not going to go through all these because there are a bunch of attributes. I'm going to guess over like 40. What are we looking at? 45 each?
I thought it was more than that now. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, I don't see the new bonus cache attribute.
It's 16 across. 16 times 4 is 64. Plus 6. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, and I think what we've just determined is they've not added the new attributes to the pocket queries yet.
Are they alphabet?
Or have they? No, they have the geocaching solution checker. Yeah. So it is there.
Available 24/7.
Maybe I'm just not spotting it. They have GeoTour.
Park and grab. Okay, so now we're going through these. Parking.
Yeah.
Available. You have to pay to get in. Or there's some sort of fee.
Field puzzles. Field puzzle was in there, correct? Yes. That's not one of the new ones? I think I just found it.
Picnic table. Recommended for tourists.
Ah, they do have okay, so they are in here.
Stealth. UV light. Flashlight.
Okay, so Happy Hodag says they just rearranged the attributes. So they are in here. And some of these are negative as well.
Power trail. Bonus cache. It's right under the doggy.
Yeah, I've got it right here. It's one of the ones I flagged in black. So just a quick tip. There's 3 modes on most of these. You have the highlighted, the black, which is on. You can click again to say not wheelchair accessible, because a lot of these have the really it's more than that's probably what I'm thinking. It's more than the 40 whatever it is, because so many of these have the negative attribute to say this is not wheelchair accessible or this is not family friendly.
Right.
So you can turn it off. You can have the positive or the negative attribute on most of these.
Exactly. It's a 3-state situation there. On, off with the international no sign, or I don't care.
See, and the one that I'm hovering over is one of the ones that I would like to find, and we don't have very often in the U.S. The abandoned structure nearby for lost places.
All over Detroit.
Yes, but you can't go into them.
Oh.
Anyway, sorry.
Okay. So sorry, I didn't mean to downplay Detroit. The last one I like is part of the Lost and Found tour.
Yeah.
And anyway, 70 attributes that you can include or exclude. Well, again, Daryl, am I right in thinking they may have some duplication here because the first set of 70 are to include, the second set of attributes are to exclude.
Well, you have all of the attributes that you can either include. So for include, it has to have this attribute. So you could say it has to be a bonus cache.
Or it has to not have an abandoned structure.
Right.
Can you do the reverse positive on that?
Well, that's what the exclude is essentially about. So I could say, show me all of the lost and found events that don't have a abandoned structure nearby. But see, that wouldn't be a very good one because most people aren't going to mark that it does not have an abandoned structure nearby.
Right.
And that's the catch.
Well, and the real catch is the cache owner has to. Oh, Daryl, yours are different than mine. The cache owner has to mark them.
I wonder how mine are different.
Well, yeah. I've got a blank one.
You have a blank one?
Hang on. I'm sharing my screen. Look, right here is blank. I can't click on it. It's next off-road vehicle and motorcycle, and above field puzzle and boat. And it's the same on both of them.
Oh, yeah, ATV.
Apparently, I'm not allowed to do that.
Yeah. Quads.
Oh, they know me.
Interesting. And What Coaster says you can't select the stealth not required negative of stealth required. So that's one of the ones that doesn't have the extra state.
No, you can check it.
It does. It does. Huh. And then Chris Bruce says cache owners actually have to use the attributes and a lot don't.
That's the key right there. If you're going to search by attributes, the cache owners have to put them in. And, there are so many attributes. I don't know. I as a cache owner, I tend to put the ones that I feel are important. Like there's parking nearby. Stealth is required. I may not say it's dog or cat friendly, or, I don't know if there's a cow nearby. Livestock nearby.
Yeah.
Available in winter. Sometimes that's very important.
And I was just going to say that this is one of those things the cache owner is going to pick the ones that they feel are most important. Hopefully, we hope that they're going to go and list those.
GSM times 2 says my wife arranged to have the ATV deleted.
She's only concerned that, you might not come home.
And GSM times 2, I would agree with that.
All right. So why don't we wrap up the pocket queries themselves because we're going.
Project GC, there are 70 positive, but only 41 negative attributes.
There you
go. Because the livestock doesn't have a negative. Snakes don't have a negative. Anyway.
Oh yeah, let's wrap this up.
This is a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, this is a pretty cool topic that we don't really hit on very often. So nice to get this back in the limelight. But kind of wrapping up the actual pocket query setup, you've got the ability to send it to the email address, whichever ones you've already set up, and you do have to set those up to accept and receive. which you can actually set up for like a distribution list as long as you can verify that the email address is valid. So I've had events that I've gone and set up distros to send out the pocket queries automatically. Now, the catch is if you're over 500, you can't get the GPX file emailed as an attachment. 500 or less, it attaches the GPX file. And I do recommend the zip option, though that's not liked by a lot of the mail providers. So if you do get a zip file, it might be stripped. So something to keep in mind. If you're not getting the emails, or if it doesn't have the file attached, turn off the zip file. It might suddenly start working if the zip file is a GPX file instead. Little safety tip. All right.
Yeah, I don't know if that's as big of a concern as it used to be.
It still is, because I have run into people who can't get the zip files.
Gotcha.
Mostly from their carrier emails. So if you have like Verizon was one of them that's doing that, you'll get those to not show up. All right. So after you've clicked saved, it's going to be in the list. It will tell you, if it was run, when that was. But I wanted to take a quick look over here. I've got this Hidden Creatures LPS. That was a pocket query I set up for a specific series. But you'll notice you have the preview pocket query and the preview in geocaching maps. We're not going to get into that right now because we're already over 50 minutes. But this is where I started really enjoying playing with these pocket queries. I can either go into the preview and get the list view, or what I usually do is the maps, and then you can actually go and like cherry pick those, add them to a list. And once they're in that list, now I can then take them and send them into my caching app or create a pocket query for my GPX. So it's just a way to go and cherry pick the caches that I want to do.
Nice.
And there's plenty of ways to do that same thing that don't require geocaching.com at this point. But this is something that is available to any premium member. It's all web-based. So it is probably the most expensive or accessible.
You could do it with your phone. It's not pretty, but you can do it.
Yeah, and I've done this with the tablet, but even the tablet is kind of rough because it is built for a click interface, not a tap interface.
Right. Yeah, it's built for a mouse, not a finger.
So that's our pocket query discussion. Hopefully, some of you have not necessarily never used them. How's that for negatives? Ooh. But if you have used them before, it probably is worth revisiting. If you've never used them and you're a premium member, go check it out. And if you're not a premium member, you probably want to consider becoming a premium member.
Yeah.
Not just for this, but for the increased API limits too.
Exactly. Their price is $30 a year. It's never gone up. At least not that I know of. I don't know what it was originally.
Only for the taxes in some countries. Because they had to start taxing in some countries that they didn't have to previously.
So, consider doing it. And you know what? You're helping the game to continue. So, always a good thing to become a premium member. And remember, we don't get paid by geocaching.com.
Yeah, definitely not. But, if you want to keep the game going and keep geocaching the nice family-friendly game that it currently is, that's probably the best way to support it. Though I would argue, it's probably better to put out good, high-quality caches. But still, those good, high-quality caches don't have any place to be listed if geocaching.com doesn't have their money.
Ooh, good deal.
So, it's kind of a chicken or the egg kind of thing.
You can have eggs and chicken at the same time.
But, okay, we'll go for this. It is the easiest way to support geocaching.
There you go.
Open up the wallet, fork out cash.
Yeah. You can do it yearly. You can do it monthly. They still have the monthly option.
They do. They don't have quarterly though.
No.
They had quarterly at one point.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah. Again, I think that might have been only in the Android app though.
Well, that tells you how successful it was.
Well, I'm sure they just didn't want to have the 30% going to Google either.
Yeah.
GSM times 2 says Bellagio, that's actually how it's pronounced, right? I keep trying to say Bellagio, is a premium member. If she can do it, anyone can.
And, I was going to say, and she probably doesn't have an income. I bet she does. I bet she even has a bank account.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Bellagio's an income maker there for GSM times 2. I'm convinced of it. Folks, thanks so much for joining us. Make sure you check the Cachamaniacs website at cachamaniacs.com for more on the Geo Gearheads, including show notes for this and all of our episodes. We love hearing from our listeners. So leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads at cachamaniacs.com or through the many channels of social media. Your support helps keep the Cachamaniac shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cachamaniac shows. Geo Gearheads is produced by Chris Humphenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. The show's copyright 2020 by Daryl Wattenberg. All rights reserved.